Sorry. Serious.
Jesus.
This is Andrew Johnston RDH speaking to you right now.
So glad you clarified that.
Yes.
It is not Michelle Strange.
It is
RDH.
not. Well, now it is also Michelle Strange talking. But here's the thing. You guys have heard us talk about Smiles at Sea in the past.
We might have gone on one of those cruises.
And it was amazing. Mm-hmm. We had a great time.
We had a great time.
There was a lot of fun to be had. A lot of
CE to be had.
A lot of networking and friendships to be formed.
Yes.
There's another one coming up.
There is.
In April.
And it's Nurses Meet Hygienists.
It is going to be amazing. So when we talk about the oral systemic link, like this is going to be where you get a good introduction.
And trying to be a collaboration within the medical profession, boom, it's on a boat.
Yeah.
It's on a boat.
So you get CE, you get fun, you get a little bit of vacation.
Get a little sun.
Hopefully you get your doctors to pay for it as well. It's in April.
But if not, do it for yourself because
you need to.
You need to invest in your education, and this is fun.
Absolutely.
But it will be at what, April?
April 28th to the 30th.
They're going to Bahamas.
To the Bahamas. Going out of Miami. You go from Miami to the Bahamas.
Mm-hmm. So 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right?
Yep.
Which is nice.
It's not very expensive.
No.
Couldn't tell you the price right now because I can't think of it. But well, that was a good one. Like we said it all at the same time. But if you use the promo code AJ for Andrew Johnston.
AJ, not MJ for Michael Jackson.
Or MS for Michelle Strange.
Yeah, don't use that because you won't get anything from that.
AJ, listeners, that's the one.
AJ.
You will get a discount.
Very good.
And so go to the smilesatsea.com website and register as soon as possible. I will be on the ship.
It's
Michelle,
questionable if I will be
may
there.
or may not be there, but I'll bring my recording stuff.
Yeah.
So, listeners, go register.
Smilesatsea.com.
Promo code AJ.
Yes.
Thanks.
Bye, y'all.
You're gonna say that.
Get ready for your unofficial dental hygiene podcast. These are the tales of two hygienists, one East Coast RDH and one West Coast hygienist. Listen as they tackle the profession of dental hygiene with humor and enthusiasm. Now, please join Michelle Strange and Andrew Johnston as they tell you a tale of two hygienists.
Hey, y'all. Welcome to episode 67 of A Tale of Two Hygienists. This is Michelle, sans Andrew. Somehow, Andrew forgot that he needed to record a podcast with me this week. I thought that I had annoyed him enough this week to make myself memorable, but I guess it didn't work. Actually, he is in New York doing some fun things and with a bunch of our little dental friends. I wish I was there, but he's also there with his wife, so I'm sure they're enjoying some non-kid time in the city. So I'm sure he'll have lots to say when he comes back. Besides, actually, I'm really tired of hygienists this week. Probably not any of our listeners, but just, the average or below average hygienist and their ridiculous opinions. So I didn't want to hear Andrew. I'm just kidding, Andrew. You're not average. But I think that is a great segue into the fact that this week's podcast is definitely not an average hygienist. In fact, she is well above average. And I think it had me thinking, like while we were doing this interview and kind of since then, but teaching over the last 9 years and getting such different types of people in each class that graduates, you really can start to sense and see some very special, wonderful qualities in each person and how different we all are, but how we can really make a difference in this wonderful dental profession. I mean, you see people that tend to do better with pedo and some that do better with elder care, some who are amazing communicators. I have one student right now who is she has excellent bedside manner. She'd be a wonderful treatment plan coordinator. You have some that are just exceptional clinicians. You have some that are real outside of the box thinkers and can really make the connection with maybe oral systemic researchers and writers and advocates for our profession, ones that understand the legislation. So I encourage you that if you're an instructor to really cultivate those things that you see in your students. And if you were a student that just really has that that one little thing that actually is exciting to you. I mean, you're probably all very stressed out, and you might even love it all, but there's probably something that you are just exceptional at compared to your other students in your class, and just really take that and run with it. And I really think that's what our interviewee has done since she graduated hygiene school, and probably well before that. Her name is Emily Boge. You might know her because she actually has an instrument named Boge 513, and she came up with an instrument. I mean, how cool is that? You get to listen to her journey. It's such a wonderful one, and so you're going to enjoy this. I think it was an hour. And when we sat down with her, she was like, how am I going to talk for an hour? But she just has so much to give and to this profession and to this podcast. It was really wonderful. So next week, we'll be back with our normal schedule with the intro and scaling the web and story time with Michelle. I'll try not to make it drunk history of systemic reviews. Actually, though, Dr. Gonzaga from University of Florida did make a great suggestion that we should do a lit review together, because he's really into the literature and everything. And every time something says peri-implantitis, we take a shot. I was like, dying laughing, but I'm pretty sure I would have alcohol poisoning because everything talks about peri-implantitis these days. But we'll have you on the podcast one day, I swear. Those guys down at University of Florida are amazing, such givers, and I appreciate them all. And it would be so fun to do a podcast with them. We actually have quite a few interviews. I mean, we are just completely blessed with all the things that are coming to this podcast, and that includes the interviews. I mean, we have so many stockpiled where in the beginning we were just like, hey, could you be on our podcast? And they're like, sure, I guess. Now people actually want to be on it, and that is so cool because there's just so much information that they are bringing to you, and it's free and it's entertaining, it's on demand. It's just a fantastic way. And so if you actually haven't told anybody about a podcast, spread the word, encourage it. This is a fantastic way to get information from people that you hear on the podium, that you read their articles, but in such a wonderful conversational kind of way. It is really fantastic. So we appreciate you guys, and we appreciate you promoting us in any way that you can, or all podcasts. And if you also didn't hear our podcast, Andrew and I were on the Passionate Dentist podcast with Dr. B. You heard his interview episodes ago, but we were on his podcast, and it was really fun. We just got to be hygienists and not actually interviewers, which was really fun. So enjoy this one, and we'll be back like normal. Like I said, this week I'm going to the Western Society of Perio. So if you are in the Seattle, Washington area, let me know, or come to the meeting. It's going to be a whole day of hygiene and implants with Dr. Diane Dalbert and Anna Pattinson. It's going to be awesome. I'm so excited to be on the podium with those two. And if you are in the Washington, Oregon area, anywhere in that Pacific Northwest area, and you are a user of the Tepe products, shoot me an email, Michelle, Michelle, at Tepe, TEPEUSA.com, and enjoy this interview with Emily Boge.
Hey, Michelle.
Yeah?
It's time for the interview.
Oh, but I had something else to say.
We need to let the experts talk now.
Fine. Here we are for the interview portion, and we are at Chicago Midwinter. This is our first day, our first interview, so everything's going to sound so fresh.
Yeah, our voices aren't going to be dead yet.
Until tomorrow when we're like interview 10, and we're like...
We have a ton of interviews.
We have a ton of interviews.
For this.
I actually was asked to do an interview for you guys, and I don't even know if you know about it.
What?
With the educators.
Oh,
the roundtable one.
The round
with
table?
Lisa Bear. She's a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
She wants me to do it.
Are you going to do it?
I told her I'll try anything once. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure, I'm cool.
Yeah.
Well,
so that's tomorrow, by the way, at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
5, maybe 5:15 if you guys are all busy at the booth. Because I think Karen's going to do it too.
Yeah, well, I'm not at the booth this meeting. I'm just
you're
speaking.
not?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
excellent. Good for you.
So
Sorry
the
about
voice
that.
on
Sorry,
this, the
not
other
interjecting,
that's
I
not
promise.
Andrew or mine, is Emily Boge, who you may have known her instrument, Boge 513, or do you say 513?
We say 513 because I'll tell you in a little while how it got named.
Do you know it's my birthday? I'm just saying.
For real?
513, May 13th.
That's how tall I am, 513.
That's a good one. It's really good.
So yeah, we'll get to the story for the name and everything, but kind of let's start with who you are, where you've been, what you're doing.
Okay,
your
so
journey.
I'm Emily Boge, and I live in eastern Iowa, and I was born and raised there. I married a fifth-generation farmer who also born and raised in Iowa. We live literally a quarter mile from where he grew up, on the south side of the farm. And I'm a dental hygienist. I'm a Virgo. I like beaches. No. I like to joke around. I'm one of 11 kids, and I bring that up a lot because then people kind of understand the level of crazy I was brought into. But I started out in private practice hygiene. Actually, my original story was I graduated from high school. I had a full scholarship to college. I invented a fly vacuum in the 7th grade. And I got a full scholarship to the University of Iowa. And I never looked back because I thought I wanted to be a pharmacist when I grew up. So the whole time I was in high school, I just cruised along and had a full scholarship, so I didn't have to worry about it.
Wow.
So I got to Iowa, and I did not like it there. It was super liberal, and it was not for Emily. And I didn't like what I was doing, so I went to the guidance counselor, and she had me take a career inventory survey, and everything pointed to dental hygiene or dentistry.
Oh.
And at the time, I was dating my husband. We were serious, and we did in high school and stuff, and so I thought, well, we're going to own one business with the farm. We probably don't, I don't want to be a dentist. So I went into hygiene because I was more interested in prevention than I was in drilling and filling and pulling teeth. Mm-hmm. So I got on the waiting list for hygiene like everybody has to do, Mm-hmm. And I went to dental assisting school, and I liked dental assisting, but I kept on going and did hygiene and went to Hawkeye Community College in Waterloo, Iowa for both programs. Graduated, thought I was going to be a hygienist forever. I loved clinical hygiene. Worked in a family practice, 4 doctors, 8 hygienists. I think there was like 13, 14 dental assistants, 18
Wow.
ops in a real
Jesus.
small town. We had a patient base of like 8,000 and some in a town of 4,000. But you had to realize in Iowa, the draw is the rural draw, right?
Sure.
So we did a lot of stuff in-house because people would have to drive an hour and a half, 2 hours to get anything done. If they needed perio care, if they needed endo care, if they needed. So we did a lot of stuff in-house. We had one dentist who did a lot of implants. We had one dentist who did a lot of ortho. We just did things in-house, and we did a lot of CE, and we were good at what we did, and I really enjoyed it. I started getting real involved with the Iowa Dental Hygienists Association, with the legislative side, with the delegate side. I really fit in with organized hygiene, which I know some people do feel like they fit in. Some people feel like it's not really necessarily for them, but I was really interested in it. So I kind of climbed the ranks with that. And probably the first thing I did in corporate was I was approached by Colgate to be on their oral health advisory committee. I think it was like the second year they did it. And that got me thinking, I really need a bachelor's degree. If I'm ever going to do anything outside the op, I need a bachelor's degree. So I went back to school. I went to Upper Iowa, got my bachelor's degree in psychology with a focus in gerontology.
How useful is that?
Well,
Probably amazingly.
Yeah, and I always liked to treat the elderly. Mm-hmm. And if you knew my husband, you'd know the psychology part. No, I'm just teasing. It's just something I was always interested in, how the brain works, how people think the way they think and feel the way they feel. So my undergrad thesis ended up being on the psychological ramifications of missing teeth and why people who didn't have teeth. I did my research on why people who didn't have teeth had trouble getting jobs, had trouble feeling culturally and socially accepted. So that I really enjoyed the research. I spent a couple of years doing that. So then I got my bachelor's done, and I thought, heck on it, I'll just get my master's too. So I stayed at Upper Iowa.
Might as well.
Might as well. Right.
Well, when you're already in that school mode, it's really not that big of a stretch.
It's so true. Yeah.
I had my hour and a half, 2 hours carved out every night. My kids go to bed at 9. I forgot to mention the kids. So,
oh yeah, we have kids too.
Yeah, I got married right out of hygiene school, and we weren't going to have kids. And all of a sudden, we thought, well, we should have a child. And then we weren't going to go move out to the farm, and we thought, heck, we should build a house. I don't, life is life. But I never thought I'd leave private practice, and I finished my master's, and my master's degree is in public administration and healthcare. And so I was finding all these things I learned in my master's degree program that I could apply in private practice, and I was happy. I did some corporate stuff along the way. I did a lot of writing, a little bit of speaking, a lot more writing. I love to write.
You want to be my ghostwriter?
I love to write. There's something about writing that you can put it on paper, and then if you don't like it, you can erase it and change it. I mean, with speaking, I struggle sometimes because it comes out of my mouth, and I talk fast and I talk a lot sometimes, and you can't like eat your words back up.
Yeah.
But with writing, you can. And I started to do some stuff for some companies, and I had some ideas for some product innovation. And the first time I pursued my first idea, it didn't quite go as I thought it would. I didn't do everything the right way. It kind of went about it incorrectly. Maybe shouldn't have necessarily proceeded the way I did. But the product came out, and it was successful. When I had my second idea for my dental instrument, I started to really see the XP technology that American Eagle has. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's a product you don't sharpen because it's titanium nitride embedded stainless. And I remember when I was little, my dad used to sharpen chainsaw blades. And my mom, she loves to cook, and she's really good at it. They used to make a lot of money doing farmers market and stuff. My mom still does that. And so my mom would sharpen knives and stuff, and I was always so intrigued by sharpening, and I love to sharpen instruments. So when that product came out, I was like the biggest critic, like, yeah, sure, whatever, instruments you don't have to sharpen. So the first thing I did when I got my first XP is I used it a couple times, and then I tried to sharpen it. And I took a big chunk out of my stone. No joke. I still have my stone. I took it, and I took a picture of it, and I sent it to American Eagle. And I'm like, yeah, you guys aren't kidding. This is hard stuff.
Yeah.
And so my husband's a tool and die maker, so a machinist. And so I know a little bit about metal. I don't really know a lot about it, just enough to be dangerous, I guess. But so I had an idea, so I kind of started bending stuff around with this instrument, and I was doing some key opinion leader stuff for American Eagle, and they invited me out to Missoula. And I said to this guy, I said, what would happen if you did this and this and this? And he and I sat down, and we did some sketches. And I told him straight up, like, if we're going to do this, we have to do it the right way. Because, I've been through it the wrong way before. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to go down that road again. And the company it's so great. It's this, people say, oh, the company has such a family atmosphere. But I mean, I'm from a big family, and I know how it really is in a big family. and it really is. It's a good company. And I think that's important that, getting American made products and from people that you trust and that you believe in. So they got the instrument. So long story longer, we launched the instrument in Switzerland. So I'm from Iowa, a small town in Iowa, and I got invited to go to Europe, and I was like, okay, I'm game. That's the other thing with hygiene. I never thought I'd get out of Iowa. I mean, I live 3 hours from Chicago, and I've been to Chicago on a few field trips, but I mean, outside of, going to Florida with my kids, I never really traveled at all until I started doing dental hygiene stuff. And so I went to Switzerland, and my sister's a flight attendant. She went with me. And then we ended up Loser Dental, which is kind of like the German equivalent of Henry Schein.
Okay, yeah.
I became good friends with one of the executives at Loser, and he took me up to where my mom's family came from and where my dad's family came from. They came from 2 towns in Germany that were 45 minutes apart. And so...
Wow. What an experience.
Yeah. So he drove me all the way up there, me and my sister, and then one of the guys that works for American Eagle, his name's Stephen Pullman. If you've never met, he's just one of the coolest people I've ever met in my whole life, Stephen Pullman. He's one of the salespeople for American Eagle in Western Europe. But anyway, so I came out with the instrument in Switzerland, and it was a hit. It was like people picked it up and thought it was cool. And
so let's talk about the design of the instrument and why you thought about that.
Okay, so I always thought it would be cool if there could be an instrument that you could clean underneath a fixed wire. So back to when I was telling you guys I was in private practice, and my boss, he did a lot of ortho, and he placed a lot of braided wires. A lot of braided wires, not a lot of straight wires, but those things would get so dirty and you couldn't get them clean. And I would get so frustrated, and so I would try to resharpen my hoe scalers and get it at an angle where it was sharp, because I like to sharpen. And I could never get it to where I wanted it. And it was really frustrating. And so once I got introduced to XP and I was in the factory, I'm like, that's what it is. That's what it has to be. It has to be sharp on the inside, but still be able to retract with the backside. It can't be sharp on the back. It has to be sharp on the front and in the inside. And so I thought, well, if you paired that with a Nebraska 128, you could scale the linguals or scale recession areas. And then you could use that Nebraska 128 to get in the crowding and overlapping spots or the deep grooves. And the coolest thing was you could make it super skinny, because when you embed that stainless with titanium nitride, it makes it so much stronger. So you don't have to worry about breaking it. Because that was always my thing. Like, once I got it as skinny as I wanted in stainless, you'd start to see it flex. And I'm like, nah. That's not going to be a liability road I'm going to run down.
No.
Right.
Not that I run ever, but yeah. So I this whole process has just been crazy. And then my family actually went with me when it came out in Maryland. We took my two boys. My boys are my son will be 12 on Thursday. He's about 5'8", 165 pounds. He's a big kid. Nice. And my other son is 9, and he's either going to be a lawyer or a priest. I mean, the kid argues with himself in the mirror sometimes. But yeah, my boys they're great. They're incredibly independent kids, well-behaved kids. We're very fortunate to have happy, healthy kids. So, and they take care of their dad when I'm gone. So my husband doesn't cook. So my kids actually cook more than he does.
That's awesome.
So it's cute, but they're, you know, and that's the thing with all the stuff I do in hygiene. People are like, how can you do that? How can you do that? Well, first of all, I don't ever tell myself I can't do anything. And secondly, I have somebody at home who doesn't tell me I can't do anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. Doesn't tell you can't. But I mean,
really
when
does.
I have an idea,
does
he's
very
like,
much.
what do you like? Do it.
Yeah.
What's the worst that can happen?
Exactly.
You know, like, try it. If you don't like it, just don't do it again. And so, I mean, I'm fortunate, and my husband is he's as chill as I am not chill. So yeah, it works.
Opposites
It works for
attract.
us. Yeah. So right now, my gig right now, I guess, to come full circle with this whole story is got my master's, went to ADHA, and I was a delegate a couple summers ago, and right before I left the college that I used to go to school at, I knew they were looking for a director, and I had just gotten my master's, and I thought, there's no way in heck they're going to hire me. I don't have any education experience. All that I have going for me, and my brain, all I had going for me was that I knew their systems, because I went through them all.
Yeah.
I spent 4 years at a 2-year college, which is another thing my husband likes to remind me. So, I mean, I went through their dental assisting program. I went through their dental hygiene program, and their leadership structure at Hawkeye is a little different in that, you know, a lot of colleges, they'll have an administrator for dental hygiene and another administrator for dental assisting.
Yeah.
Hawkeye's is in that it's one person that does both roles. And then we have an 18-chair dental clinic that we're currently planning on building a new building and a bigger dental clinic. So I'm super excited about that. But so I applied and ended up getting the job. And it was one of the hardest things I had to do, was tell my boss of 13 years that I was done.
Yeah.
You know, and it's still like, I go in there and I kind of get teary about it, because, I mean, when you're in a small town, you see grandma and grandpa, you see their 4 kids, you see their 20 grandkids. You know, every 4-H project the kid's ever done, and it's kind of it's cool. I mean, it's really cool, but then it kind of makes me sad, because the one day I was in for a dental appointment, and this lady was, oh, you know, we miss seeing you so much, and then she starts talking about her grandkids, and I feel like, oh my gosh, I've missed a year of their lives. But you know, the way I look at it is, now I have, you know, if I touched 8 patients a day before, and I touched 40 patients a week before. Let's just throw out that number. Now I can work with my 68 dental assisting and dental hygiene students, and maybe I can touch 40 patients a week with each of them forever.
Right.
So it's a different kind of fun. I miss my patient care, but at the same time, it's like, in the back of my head, I'm like, if I could only do one one day a month.
Mm-hmm.
And then I
Yes.
say something like that to my husband. He's like, you're losing your mind. Because the other thing I
true,
haven't
though.
told you is well, first of all, I'm going to Cologne next month with American Eagle to go to IDS.
Mm-hmm.
And something I just really wanted to do, and
It's a
I'm going to work for them a
crazy
little
big
bit
show.
when I'm
for
there.
anybody that doesn't know, this is like the biggest dental show in the world. Is
Yeah.
IDS,
Every-
the International Dental Show. And
Yeah,
it's
every 3 years, or no, 2 or 3 years. I can't remember. And it's in Cologne, and I went to Cologne this summer and fell in love with the city and the cathedral and the river. And so I just feel like I need to be back there, so I'm going to go.
good
And
for you.
yeah, I'm pumped about that. And then I'm starting my doctorate in August. So
Oh, Jesus,
course you are.
Lord.
Why
Someone
not?
asked me that the other day, would I go and get my doctorate? I was like, absolutely, there's not a chance.
You know,
and I want you to shake me violently.
there was
Say something like that.
never
I
a
will shake you
chance.
violently if that happens.
There was never a chance I was going to do that. And then this whole mid-level provider thing, that's
Yeah.
what's getting me, man. It's
Yeah.
if we get that in my state, we need hygienists with doctorates that can teach it.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, and maybe I'd have to go back for extra training to
I was gonna
become
say, would that
a
have
dental
to be-
therapist or
yeah.
whatever you'd have to do. But I mean, in the back of my head, it's like there's going to need to be somebody who can do that curriculum planning, and they're going to have an appropriate education to do that. And the other thing is, and this close, what's another couple years?
Yeah.
I just want to do it before I'm 40.
What school are you going to go to for your doctorate?
Allen College in Waterloo. It's in the same town I work in. So I commute about an hour and 15 a day to school. And it's
That's
probably
some great podcasting time right then. Listen
right.
to a
it's
lot of podcasts.
probably some of the most productive 2 hours of my day,
Yeah.
because I can do like an internal check and like get in everything planned in my brain, and then I get to work and do all my things. And on the way home, I can like say, okay, this is what I got done today. This is what I need to do tomorrow. And then once I get halfway home, then I can say, this is what I got to do when I get home. And so-and-so's got this appointment and soccer and football and, all that other stuff. So you get a lot of planning done. And, it's time I get to talk to my mom. I'm on the phone, and my sister's in Florida and my brother's in Texas. And so and once in a while I'll call them or call one of their kids, call my nieces and nephews. So
Wow.
I have some things I want to kind of come back to.
Do it.
If that's okay.
oh yeah, of course.
I want to kind of get back to, you mentioned working with Colgate, and you said that they kind of reached out to you, but how did they know who you were, how to find you at that point in your life?
They had this thing where you could apply. Like, how did it happen that you could apply to be on their Colgate Oral Health Advisory panel? And I was at Midwinter, and somebody, I know what, was I at Midwinter or was it ADH? It was something that I was attending a meeting. And Tess Black, who works at a firm that Colgate subcontracts with, she's awesome hygienist from the Boston area. She talked to me, and Ann Ryan also works for that firm, and she called me and interviewed me over the phone, and they invited me out to New York, and you got to stay in New York City. I'd never been to New York before. Took us over to Piscataway, New Jersey, to the research facility, showed us where they do all the research and how they test the toothpaste and all the stuff that goes into making a toothpaste. And that was probably 10 years ago. No, it was probably 8 years ago. It was after I had Eric. He was real small, and he's 9.5 now. But it was just one of those things that, I'm speaking at the American Eagle sales meeting on Saturday and Sunday, and Saturday night and Sunday. And how do I explain this? There's that book, The Power of a Positive No.
I know that one, actually.
And I read that book, and I thought, this is a bunch of crap. I mean, I'm sorry for the person who wrote that book, but I'm a firm believer in the power of a positive yes.
Sure.
I mean, I know we do often agree to more things than we necessarily need to have on our plate, but sometimes if you don't say that first yes, like when somebody says to you when you're in clinical practice, oh, you should be on this Colgate advisory committee. Are you kidding me right now? You know who I advise? My patients. That's it.
Yeah.
And and how many of them really listen to me? Like, To a certain extent. And when you're young and you don't necessarily have all the confidence in the world, when you're presented by a huge company like that, like, here, come to New York City, and you're like, I don't even know how to get to New York City, like, and then they help you line it up, and they help you, and they're so nice to you, and it's just another one of those good American companies, like, you never think that you're going to do something, but if you don't say yes, you're not going to have the chance to do it.
Well, I think even before that, if you don't sign up for these things, if you don't go to these shows and network and get yourself out there, I think you will never even get the opportunity to say
Right.
yes. So you have to, and I wonder if was that why you're getting that question? Is because, like, how do you get involved in that kind of stuff?
Because it seems like, Michelle and I have been kind of in this game a little bit, for a little bit longer, but a lot of our listeners are like right out of school, and it seems like some people just fall into it and some people don't. And I kind of wanted to give them like our listeners, a pathway of how do you start
one of
getting
my
involved
students the
past
one
that?
day said something about me being a high roller. I think it was because I have a picture of Ann Spilarich, Joanne Grinlian, Maria Perno-Goldie, and I at IDS. And I said something about, these are me and the high rollers in dental hygiene. And then one of my faculty is like, you're a high roller. And I'm like, no, these guys are like, you got to have somebody that you look up to and say, no, that's a high roller.
Yeah.
And I think that, maybe if I can be that to some of my students, I would be okay with that. And I try to maintain my humility, and I get pretty silly sometimes, but there's some big names in hygiene that are doing some big stuff. Mm-hmm. And if they would have said no to, the opportunities they were given, they wouldn't be doing that big stuff. And so I guess that's probably my best advice is have a positive yes. Like, yes, I'll try it. And if it stinks, then don't do it again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, there's stuff I've done that, heck no, would I do it again?
Yeah, I agree with that. But you got to live it and learn from it.
Yeah.
For
Right.
sure. But I think you also have to think that you can do it. And
Yeah.
put yourself out there. I think that's.
I
gonna be
I don't know if you need to think that you can do it. Like, I look at my brother Mike, right, and like
Mike, who's sitting next to us.
He's sitting next to us listening. But on my end of things, I know that he can do more than what he's doing. Sorry, Mike, not to put you on the spot, but and he doesn't have a microphone, so he can't say a word. But like, he can do more. He's very capable of doing more. He's demonstrated in and outside of hygiene for years. Because this is our second profession, that we came into, and he's just proved it over and over again that he can do more. And I just don't think that you necessarily have to. And right now, he's just like, well, I don't know if I can handle more on my plate. I don't know if I can put this on and put this on. So it's hard to say yes.
Are you feeling inspired, Mike, sitting here?
Are you feeling
listening
beaten
to
down? That's the question. More beat down. of
But
course.
just because it's a no right now doesn't mean it's a no either.
Right.
And sometimes I say that,
Yeah.
people say, you say yes to everything. No, I mean, for instance, I called bingo at the parish. I'm still feeling a little guilty about this. I called bingo, and I loved calling bingo. It was fun. On Thursday nights, I do it once every month or so.
Yeah.
But it got to the point where I had to say, I had to call and find subs for bingo because I'd be going to a meeting or doing this or that. And finally I said, you know what? I can't do this to you guys anymore. It's not fair to put you in a position where I'm chasing down a sub and you don't know if you have somebody reliable because I am not taking the accountability for whether or not I'm going to be there. Mm-hmm. I know I have too much on my plate. This is one thing I'm going to give up. So I called and I said, hey, if you guys ever need a sub, keep me on the list. If you call me and I'm busy, I'll just say no.
Yeah.
But you have to learn, I think, as you get older, to have that confidence to just be able to say, like I tell the teachers at school, I'm not one of those volunteer parents. I will bake you 5,000 cookies. No joke. If you need 5,000 cookies, I will bake them.
Yeah.
But I can't take off work and be at school or help be the homeroom mom and do that because it's just not my thing.
Yeah.
But, if you need something donated or like I auctioned off an item recently at a gala, I don't mind talking ahead of people. They're probably going to laugh at me, but I don't know that.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think too, what you just said is it's just not your thing. And I think that's a big thing for hygienists is trying to find their thing because, your thing is obviously innovation and thinking about how things can work and be built and shaped, and being a part of these councils and things like that. And that might not be somebody's gig. And then they hate it and they do it. And then they're like, I'm not going to do anything else. You got to find what works for you, though.
Yeah. And the other thing is, sometimes people think, I can't do that. Maybe I'll teach. And the more I work as an administrator, the more I see that I'm probably not cut out to be a classroom teacher. Like, I like to sub periodically, but I have the hardest time staying on task. I don't know how they get done what they get done in 50 minutes, but I'm really good at getting I have such smart, talented faculty, but to get them in a room and agree on something is not a cool thing sometimes.
Mm-hmm. And it's dentistry for you in general.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But these brilliant women, and I say women because there are no men, but if I'm not trying to be discriminatory in any way, but they have such a hard time getting on the same page, and I'm good at that. I'm good at saying, that's a great idea, let's write it down. That's a great idea, let's write it down. That's a great idea, we can maybe do that later, we don't have the money for that right now. And then make a plan, because that's what my degree is in, public administration, public policy. So you take all the data, you put it together, whatever's the best decision, you make it, you move forward. And I think that a lot of schools, maybe that's their problem. And that's what I'm doing my doctorate thesis on is communication between administration and faculty, and the importance of that communication and calibration. Because if you don't have somebody who's an effective leader, who's agile and can be forward thinking, and my ultimate concern is always the students. Mm-hmm. And I understand that you're going to have to change things in your classroom sometimes, and that might stink, but isn't that going to be better for the students long term? And I worry about that in programs. Because if I worry about that, and I know, like you said, I know I'm not cut out to be a classroom educator. When I give a lecture, like when I write a CE and people tell me it has to be 3 hours, I write it and it's 8 hours, and I have to cut. And if I was a classroom teacher and had to do that every day, I would go crazy.
Yeah. If you don't mind, I want to kind of go back to what you mentioned about, did I hear you right that you said that your role is going to be in charge of the DA program and the RDH program? Yeah.
So I'm the administrator for dental assisting and dental hygiene, and then I'm oversaw by the dean of the School of Interprofessional Health and Safety Services. So at our college, that's nursing, respiratory therapy, OTA, PTA, dental assisting, dental hygiene, police science, EMT, and fire service. So the dean has all of those schools.
Yeah. Ours, I think that's how ours works.
So when we were in school, we had an assisting program through the college as well, but it was totally separate. So do you guys do anything like integrating the programs at all? Do you guys work together? That is very interesting that you asked that, because when I started, and this is what frustrated me when I was in the program, you were taught to do things one way in dental assisting, and then you were taught to do things another way in dental hygiene. Mm-hmm. And that frustrated me to no end, because what are you teaching those students? Mm-hmm. You're teaching them that when they get in the office, if you're a dental assistant, you do things one way, and if you're a dental hygienist, you do them another way. Right. And we don't function as a team. We have our side of the clinic and their side of the clinic.
And that's when you get all contentious and pissy with each other.
Right. And those are not the type of employees I would want to oversee as a manager. So that is not what I want to create as an administrator. So we stepped back, and not a lot of processes in our clinic had to be streamlined, but there were certain things with sterilization. There were certain things with our side, their side. For instance, we have our sterilizer wrap on one side in a drawer. We have their sterilizer wrap on another side in a drawer. We're one clinic. We might share a clinic. You might use it on Wednesdays and Fridays, and we might use it on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. But we're one clinic, right? Mm-hmm. So we need to streamline our processes, because it wasn't fiscally responsible for the college.
No.
It wasn't in the best interest of our patients, and it certainly wasn't in the best interest of our students to learn things two different ways.
As a team.
Right. Yeah. So what hopefully in 10 years, we'll start to see production of people who want to work as a team. And the other cool thing is a lot of our DAs will either come back for hygiene later, or they'll transition into hygiene. Nice. Which, not saying that the two careers are the same by any means, but saying that it's definitely a pathway we see people take advantage of. Mm-hmm. So they don't have to relearn, because it's hard enough to learn it one way. Seriously. But then to try to relearn it a new way, I struggled with that when I was in school. The other thing that we're doing is we're slowly trying to get some collaboration on other projects outside of school. One thing that actually just met about this a couple weeks ago, I'm going to be working with the county public health and our low-income clinic in town, and we're going to do, we've picked one population, a diverse population in the community. We have a very large increase in Burmese population.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to do a Burmese dental clinic.
Mm-hmm.
The reason we have to kind of try to get it to one language and not accept all the languages at once is because the state of Iowa will only give us translators one type at a time.
Right.
And so we're going to do that as a collaborative event with public health, the QHC. I never can get that acronym right. FQHC.
Federal Qualified Health
I
Center.
always want to do that, CDO, OCD. I'm OCD dental hygienist. I have CDO. It's OCD alphabetized.
That's
So then I screw it up when I say it. Anyway, so like these collaborative events are something big. I mean, interprofessional healthcare is big, and that's our dean right now. He's a nurse by trade. But now he got his doctorate, he's our dean, and he's big on that. And so it's cool to have upper leadership that wants that to happen, because we have a big sim lab at our college that's growing. And as we're building this new building, it's going to be getting even bigger. So that collaboration is going to be even more important. And we've started that in so many facets. When we have kids come to visit from middle schools, we'll do this big healthcare thing where the nursing people will talk about nursing, and then I'll talk about dental, and then respiratory care will come in and talk about respiratory care, and fire science will come in. And it's kind of like we all are working as a team.
Yeah.
And so eventually what I'd like to see is more cross-curriculum stuff.
Yes.
And that all takes time, because then you got to go through curriculum modification.
We right now have like OTPT come teach us how to do transfers. And then we also are working with nursing to help for them to teach our students vital signs and that kind of.
Those are the same
cross-promotion,
conversations we're having right now,
Yes.
and just figuring out what course number that should be integrated. And
It's great though. And then we just last year our DA and RDH program, the DAs were teaching the RDHs how to do rubber dam, suction with high speed, things like that. And then the hygienist taught the assistants how to polish.
that's
And
very
it was
interesting.
so nice.
That's so cool. And
It was
the
so
one
nice.
that's like this whole thing with, focus on the why and not the how. Why is that important? Because they're going to have to work together forever. The how I can plan. We can
Yes,
implement policy
of
all
course.
day,
Sure.
but it's finding that why and trying to figure out how to map it all. The other challenging part is at a 2-year institution, their curriculum is so packed.
It is so packed.
And even to get the clinic free, like this week, I had this cutest little group of 3 and 4-year-olds that came to see me.
Aw.
And their teacher called me, and I'm like, oh my goodness, the only time that the clinic is available is between 9 and 10 on a Tuesday. What Tuesday do you want?
Yeah.
I mean, that's how much, when people talk about giving money to community colleges, I won't get too political on you here, but when they talk about giving money to community colleges and the cost of education, we utilize every square inch of that clinic. I mean, when we're at capacity, we have 4 folding chairs, 4 portable dental chairs we put down the middle of the clinic.
Wow.
For people to use, because we use the heck out of that clinic. And so, I mean, it's great. The other cool thing that we're doing with interprofessional collaboration is I currently have the digital mass media students on our campus. So like the kids that, I shouldn't say kids, the students that are at the college that are learning to like make movies
Oh, yeah.
and take photographs and
Yeah.
such
Very nice.
with multiple facets of media. They're doing nothing that I'm going to put on the internet. This is like really what it's like to be a dental hygiene student.
Oh, yeah.
And so this
love
guy,
it.
as his project, he's coming in and filming our students
That's great.
when they do peer-to-peer clinician type activities. Like they did impressions last week, and he came in.
Yes.
And so he's learning about dentistry, and they're in a completely different building. So he had never even set foot in the building that I'm in until I invited him over to see if he wanted to be our intern.
That's a really great idea.
And so he came over because when I started, I said something about getting some photos taken. Well, we don't have a lot of money and we don't have this. And I said, well, and then the one day I got to talking to the digital mass media teacher, and he's like, oh, that would be so cool if our students could come over and take pictures. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You can take pictures. I need pictures. Why is this so difficult for us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what's so funny about, you talk about dental hygiene and innovation. And, for the life of me, for years, I thought, how am I going to get that cutting edge on the inside to be sharp and then be able to sharpen it? Mm-hmm. And then you walk in the factory and boom, falls in your lap. Like, how is that? I don't get it.
Yeah. I have more questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I keep writing more questions. I gotta stop writing more questions down.
Oh no,
Earlier we talked a little bit about like some of the movers and shakers and how your students had mentioned that how you're a rock star, and who are the people that when you're feeling like you need a pick me up or like, hey, I want to be like that person, like who are those two people that you have in your mind right now?
I don't know. Wow, there's a lot of rock stars in hygiene. Let's see. Start naming names, then I'm going to feel bad if I leave somebody out.
I know, right?
Let's just pick just 3 in no particular order.
3?
Only 3.
Oh goodness.
I know.
Well,
not saying that they're your favorites or anything, but just things that
I
the
know a lot
students
of
and young
hygienists.
people can look forward to.
So Esther Wilkins, obviously. I mean, I met her. She, recently passed, but met her a few times, and I thought, boy, when I met Esther and I was at ADHA dancing with Esther, I had made it. I'm a delegate for the National Association, and I have made it. That was very, very early on in my career. But the thing with meeting Esther that was a kicker for me was she was dancing. We were at this party. She had a Sam Adams in her hand. And I'm like, this girl wrote a textbook and she is having beers with me. How cool is that? And so that's the things that stick out in my mind. Joanne Granlian, brilliant. Ann Spilarich, brilliant. Angie On, brilliant speaker. Jackie Sanders, just the biggest heart on a person you'll ever meet. And I could go on for days. Like I talked about Stephen Pullman earlier. He has no dental background. He's a salesman, and he sells instruments for American Eagle in Europe. And I met him 2 years ago at Midwinter. And was that just last year at Midwinter? Oh, goodness. Where's time going? It was just last year. And I feel like, he's my best friend now. And he lives in Israel.
So awesome.
But I mean, you meet these people, and I think that's a lot of hygiene. You meet these people, and I talk about the Boge 513. How was it named?
Yeah.
We went out at Midwinter a couple years ago, and we went to a tapas restaurant. I had never been to a tapas restaurant. I won't even tell you what I thought they asked me to do when they asked me to go to. Yeah. I
had another hygienist that came in and said, just quickly, sorry, this is a complete digression, but it's hilarious because she did a new patient exam and came out and was like, Michelle, this guy is opening a topless restaurant. And I was like, where? On James Island, which is like the island I grew up. I was like, there's no freaking way. There's no way that's going to ever be allowed. And he's like, oh, yeah, I have a tapas. I was like, Laura, you idiot. You had me thinking this person was the worst human being. He was opening a topless restaurant.
Well, that's what they said. They're like, Boge, you want to go out to eat with us tonight? We're going to go to this tapas restaurant. And I'm like, I did not hear that right. I don't know what you said, but it did not. So anyway, we went out, and we had a couple drinks. I won't get brand specific, but I like my gin. And I don't like the kind that tastes like you're licking a Christmas tree, but I like my gin. And so we were having some gin, and I had met this executive at American Eagle, and I didn't know who he was, never seen him before. He had not been with American Eagle very long. Mm-hmm. And we were joking back and forth, and he said something about, how tall are you anyway? And I'm like, I'm 5'13". And I got that, oh, are you really that tall? No, I'm kidding. Yes, I'm really, and it took him a while to process that I was 6'1", but that was always the joke. And then when they said they were going to buy the instrument, they said they knew exactly what they were going to call it. Okay. Well, I don't care what you call it, but don't call it the Boge Ho. My mom probably wouldn't be very happy with that, but
that's his new nickname now.
Yeah. And I mean, like, you talk about mentors, like my mom, I mean, not to be cliche, but having 11 kids and staying home the whole time we were raised and taking care of all of us. And then when my little brother went to grade school, she went back to school and she started being a special needs teacher, helping in the reading room. And she still does that, 74 years old, still works at the grade school.
Oh.
You know, and that's, I think, it's got to be a good 90% example that's set to you.
Yeah.
And there's so many good examples in dental hygiene that, you know, when you talk about students, they can't go wrong. I mean, there's so many people out there. I shouldn't say they can't go wrong. You can always go wrong, but just find somebody. And if you ask somebody if they'll be your mentor and they say no, then they're not the right mentor for you anyway.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You know, and I tell students everywhere I go to speak when I was student liaison with IO or with the district, I give people my cell phone number. I said, if you call me and I'm busy, I'll say I'm busy. I'll call you back later. Or if you email me and I'm busy, I'll answer it when I have time.
I think that's a great thing to say is that everyone is very approachable. Like they look like the high rollers, the rock stars, but you're drinking beers with them, like Esther Wilkins dancing on the floor. Like everyone is very approachable. That it's just from afar, you're like, I can't go up and talk to them. But and I think was it Jasmine that was saying that she's going and doing the selfie stick with everybody, and how everybody was just so easy to approach with that. And I think it's go talk to them. And honestly, if they blow you off, you probably don't want to talk to them anyway.
Well, and you say selfie stick. Tammy Filipiak's been a huge mentor to me, president-elect for IDH, or pardon me, for ADHA. And the first time I met her, I was so intimidated by her. Just her accomplishments, how she's brilliant. She's amazing. And it all gets back to, you know, somebody mentored her. Right. And if I could do that, or if I could even do half of that for anyone, I'd sure try. So
I think that's excellent. Excellent. What else you got, Andrew?
So you have a lot of things coming up. Right. But I wanted to look 1 year ahead from today. So when we meet back again at Chicago Midwinter next year, what kind of things, because I know you're going to do the podcast again, what kind of things are you going to have to tell us?
Well, like I said, I'm really going to push for that dental clinic. I want to get a diversity dental clinic for my students. I think it'd be beneficial for the community, beneficial for my students, all around. Everybody wins. I am really looking forward to starting my doctorate, but I'm really scared out of my gourd. Let's see. I will have an almost 13-year-old next year at this time, because I have an almost 12-year-old now, and I'm sure my 9-year-old will still be smarter than me then, and he'll remind me. He's the kid that came home from kindergarten and told me that his teacher was irrational.
Oh, my gosh.
Irrational?
Yeah, my kindergartner. So, you know, I'm hoping to buy a convertible. Does that count?
Yeah,
I've been looking for a convertible muscle car for about a year. I went between getting my brother's got a really nice 70 Chevelle. Just looked at a really nice 66 Buick. I can't decide what I want.
So
I just looked at a Le Mans. I want a classic convertible.
Nice.
And I really would like a 64 Impala, but I don't want to pay the money for that kind of convertible. So my husband just bought another big section of his family's farm. So that's been a real big thing for us. He's unfortunately had some family pass in the last couple of years. So we've had a lot of transitioning and shifting of the farmland. So that's been a big deal for us. We just refinished one of the farmhouses. My nephew's moving in. He owns a trucking company, super responsible, 20-year-old kid. So he's moving in, beautiful old farmhouse. So I'm hoping to help him get settled in there.
In your spare time.
Yeah. You know, I recently lost some weight, and so that's been a big thing for me in the last year. Last March, I started a diet program. I've lost 96 pounds.
Say what?
Yeah.
Incredible.
So just getting myself back in shape from a health standpoint before I started my doctorate was important to me. So, I mean, I'm by no means thin, and I'm by no means in the
It's
best shape.
Health. If you're healthy,
yeah,
you feel
yeah,
good.
and I feel great. I can't even believe how great I feel. But hopefully, just better health, better a year from now.
So how you said if people call you, you're gonna answer that kind of stuff. So how do people get in touch with you if they have questions?
Right. So I have a website, and it's www.thinkbigdental.com. So think big like I'm tall, dental like I like teeth.com. I've been trying so hard. That's the one thing. If you ask me what do you want to improve on, I want to get better at being consistent with blogging. I love doing it, and I love writing, and I love, someday your words are all that's going to be left of you. So I write a lot. I have a little book on my desk, and it's the best part of my day. I try to write the best part of my day down every day. And that's another thing with, getting focused and taking a little time away from the crazy of work to just calm down and focus. But yeah, I just am fortunate enough to have a really good team, and I just keep getting back to this mentor thing. I work private practice with a girl, and she went back and got her master's, and she went and worked at college, and we worked together for 5 years, and we just super good friends. And so she actually works, she's one of the faculty at the college I work at now. So we're back together, and her name's Katie Gisselson, and she just won Hygienist of the Year for Iowa for 2017.
Nice. Congratulations.
And that's what I love, to see my friends succeed. So when people contact me, get on my website, call my phone number. I mean, it's 319-231-1193.
I love when they give them.
I always tell, I always tell my students, if you Google me, you're going to find my number. Anybody who thinks their number's a secret is living in a hole, because it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you got one of those Google numbers that changes. By the way, I got scammed on Craigslist concert tickets. So I just need to put that out. I just need to put that out there right now. Do not buy concert tickets on Craigslist, because I got hosed.
Aww.
But we bought other tickets, and it was a darn good concert. Sudbeck and I, Jessica Sudbeck.
Yeah.
Shout out to her too.
We're going to have her on too.
She is actually staying with me.
Oh, really?
Here. She should be here in about an hour and a half.
Oh,
so
good. That'd be awesome.
She's, if anyone on the podcast doesn't know her, she's a very dynamic, active Dental Hygienist Association member that just moved from the state of Virginia to the great state of Iowa. Yeah, I know. I'm pretty sure she's wondering why she didn't move there years ago, because it's awesome. But she's good stuff, and I have only known her just 9 months, but it's amazing. We talk about hygienists. You meet them and you feel like you know them your whole life. So
yeah.
Truly. So website was the best way, and then you just gave your phone number. So excellent.
Yeah,
That's
and
perfect.
my email address is emily@thinkbigdental.com. So if you need me, find me, and I will tell you what I tell everyone when I speak. I don't have all the answers, but chances are I've networked long enough that I can find somebody who does.
Yeah.
I love that.
And that's the coolest thing about hygiene that I know so far, is that I have never reached out to a hygienist and asked for something and not gotten an answer. Never.
Yeah.
I mean, in almost 15 years now.
Yeah.
Because even if they don't have the answer, they'll say, who might know that? And that person might not know it. But then, a couple people later, they'll bounce off each other, or, oh, you should call this industry person. Or one time they worked for this company that knew that. Dentistry is one big dysfunctional family.
Yes, it is.
We're
finding that out very
much
quickly.
so, yes.
The butt you kick today might be the one you have to kiss tomorrow. So that's another thing.
Yes.
Students.
I should probably.
Yes, listen to that, students.
I always say
listen
that.
to
Remember that, because someday that teacher that you treated cruddy is going to get a call. Oh, did you have so-and-so in school?
Yeah.
No.
Like, I remember exactly who that
You don't
is.
always got to be
I've
nice.
had that conversation.
You don't always have to
multiple
be their
times.
friend, but you always have to be nice. That's what my dad used to
Be
say.
respectful.
Yeah.
Just be respectful.
Doesn't cost any more to be nice.
No. Well, thanks for coming and
Thank
taking
you
the time.
very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We appreciate this. And
I kind of like talking to you guys.
Thanks.
Well, that's good.
People
Well, hopefully
enjoy
you'll do the
being on the
roundtable with
podcast.
I
us
was a
later,
little
so.
scared about, I'm not going to lie. I like to talk, but then you get in the situation where people ask you questions. You're like, oh, crap. What are they going to dig out?
Yeah. Good dig out. Tell us your deepest,
Remember in
darkest
5th
secrets.
grade when you got in big trouble for writing that bad poem
Like,
about
it's so
that girl?
funny that I just did a background check on you, and I want to talk about a few things.
I'm serious. The only time I ever got in trouble in school was in the 5th grade. I wrote a nasty poem and my mom found out about it.
Oh, no.
It rhymed though. It was wicked awesome.
We'll share that on the next episode of
Yes.
the podcast.
Tune in.
Tune in.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Take care.